Hey-o!
Hey-o!
Hey.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
What's up?
We are a good-looking bunch.
I know. Some handsome fellas. It's all that outdoor fresh air we get all summer long, you know?
It's all that vitamin D from the
There
sun.
you go. There you go. That definitely helps. Good evening, fellas. Happy KOTG Tuesday.
I know I've got my fair share the last few days.
My wife said the same thing.
Mm-hmm. 3 inches is a plenty.
Hey, the more the merrier.
More the merrier.
Like the sun. It's always up and it's always shining.
Good one. It's too bad I won't see you next week, Nate. I really hate that.
I know. Unfortunately, I won't be at the Equip Expo this year. That's 3 years in a row I've went. And I was really looking forward to this year, but unfortunately, things in life just don't always go as planned. So had an audible, but I definitely plan on being there next year, assuming everything stays the same as it is.
Yeah.
So maybe not see me for a year will make you miss me that much more, Olee.
Well, I stay in contact with you, so I'm not going to really miss you, but I do enjoy hanging out. And, you know, there's not quite too many people that can rub bull balls like you. So I really hate that.
You'll probably get a good night's sleep each night.
It'll wear you out.
My snoring don't keep me up. Yours does.
Yep.
So
who's anyone in the chat going to Equip Expo this year? I know Lucky Green's going.
Yep.
Olee, you're going.
Yes, sir. I cannot wait. Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock. I hope to be on the interstate.
That's what I was gonna ask, when you're leaving and all that good stuff. How far of a drive is it for you?
It's almost 500 miles, 490 something.
It's like 8 or whatever.
Pushing probably 8 hours, probably.
Man, last weekend, that road trip I did, oh my gosh, that was a long weekend. So I was Friday night, got a call at like 6:30. Hey, I got some tickets to the Iowa-Ohio State game. He's like, I'm not going to be able to go. And I'm like, why? I don't think the wife wants to go. And I said, I'll pack my bags. He's like, are you serious? I said, yeah, if you are. So about 8 o'clock, we made the decision we're going to Columbus, which is a 10-hour one way with an hour time change. So about 11 hours on the clock. But yes, we left at midnight, Friday night at midnight, drove through the night, got to Columbus at 11 a.m., set up, kind of tailgated, had a little bit, walked around the stadium, checked things out, went to the game. And then as soon as the game was over, hopped in my truck and we drove back to Iowa.
Oh, man, I didn't realize that. Dang.
We got back at 4 a.m. on Sunday.
Talk about a long day.
Yeah, it was literally 10 hours, go to the game, 10 hours back. Both of us, like, as we're driving. And I knew the way back was going to be the challenge, you know, with sleep and all that. Because Friday night, you know, we didn't sleep Friday night. I laid down for like an hour Friday night. That was it before we left. But, yeah, so.
Too jazzed up to go.
Yeah, so then, like I said, coming back, it was like, I drove until I think like midnight or something like that. And I was like, I got to get some sleep. I'm falling asleep. And then he hopped in, drove for a couple hours. And I woke up at like 2 a.m. And I was like, all right, I'll take back over. It's like just trying to go back and forth and trying to catch a little sleep. But yeah, I mean, it was a bucket list thing to go and watch the Iowa Hawkeyes play at Ohio State. So it was a good time. Awesome. You know, obviously we got our butts kicked, but you know, it was definitely a good time.
Well, now you're going to get to go watch them play the Huskies this weekend.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's my son's birthday this Saturday, and that's what he wanted to do for his birthday. And so we got tickets, and we're going to go hopefully watch the Hawks beat up on Bill's Huskies. So
hey, man, we just beat Michigan last weekend, which was a pretty wild game. So, you know, I don't know. We're a bit of a mixed bag right now. You never know with the Huskies. Yeah. But no, we were talking about, you know, it's been a minute. We were talking about trying to get together to go. My oldest, my 9-year-old, is his first tackle football year, and he busted his wrist just before the season started. He's been out, so he gets cast off tomorrow, and this Saturday morning will be his first game back, and this weekend and the next will be the last 2 games of the season. So there's no way we're going to miss that one. He's been dying to get out there and knock some heads and play for real. So coaches said they'll ease him into the game. Don't want to overdo it right away. But anyway, we're pretty pumped. So I'll have to find some way to troll you online or something on Saturday, even though I can't be there with you.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's just a good game. Like, just watch a game. So win or lose, I like to watch a good game.
Oh yeah.
But
anyway, what do you say we get this show started, guys?
Yeah.
This is episode 166. Haven't really been keeping track on Instagram here. I need to put some posts up, but let's talk fall prep, guys. Let's grab a glass, keep off the grass.
Yeah.
Lemonade. It's so good. I find that like a little bit of flavoring in my water helps me do a better job of staying hydrated throughout the day. Even though probably pure water is probably better for you, gets me to drink more of it. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. I like a little Mio in my water.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I like it. I don't know what Ole's thinking over there. Well, I'm in fall mode, you guys, talking about fall prep. You guys, we touched on it last episode, all the kind of renovation stuff that I did, the aeration and, top dressing and some of that stuff you can consider normal fall stuff, aeration, overseeding, that sort of thing. But I guess now, we want to maybe transition to, regardless of whether you're overseeding or not, or, aside from that, what are some things we want to do to set ourselves up for winter and then, maybe give us a leg up and come out strong next spring. And I know Nate and Brian, you guys were kind of talking about some ideas, and Nate, you had a few on your mind. You want to kick us off with something, what do you think would be a good thing to do or kind of think about this fall?
Yeah. So I think, depending on your soil, I guess you would say, but, majority of the people I talk to, usually around the Midwest, cool season lawns. To me, one of the biggest things is to aerate. Core aeration has a ton of values in it. A ton of benefits, I guess I should say. So that's probably at the top of my list is something that I plan around every year and to make sure I get done every year. But, obviously you got that week or two that, your yard's kind of tore up. You got the plugs that are, sitting over your yard and whatnot. But, it's usually after about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more, your lawn bounces right back and looks even better. So make sure you plan that. Obviously, like I said, if you're overseeding, hopefully you did it before and then threw your seed down right after it. But maybe you didn't overseed this year and you're going to do it now during the growing season. Now is a great time to do it. But don't wait too long, which I did last year, and nothing was wrong with it. I did it way, way late. I think I did it. I don't even remember the date I did it, but it was after like Thanksgiving last year. And then, like I said, I was testing to see, if you do it super late, will anything happen? But no.
Definitely, for those of you who don't have irrigation system or aren't, actively watering, try to, I would say it's helpful to get some water on the lawn before you do your aeration, especially for me, because it gets rock hard when it's dried out with all the clay. So, keep it moist leading up to, and that makes it more worth your while, all that effort and time. And
yeah, I'm looking at maybe a month left on my season. So I'm planning this weekend. I'm actually going to dethatch. Going to help a neighbor out, not drunk lawn guy, but a different neighbor. Going to help dethatch his lawn as well. So going to do that most of Saturday, get it all cleaned up, and then probably 2 weeks after that is going to be aeration time. So we're coming up on like the 26th of October, do some aeration. And I do that same kind of thing where about 24 hours before I start watering, going through my cycles of irrigation and stuff to get that ground nice and moist so that the aeration can come through and plugger can pull up as deep as it'll go. And then throw some winter fertilizer down, as well as some humate and then some gypsum, and then water it in that next week or two, and then time to blow out sprinklers, man. It's time to get the water out of those pipes so they don't freeze over the winter and bust. So that's what I'm looking at for like at least the next month or so.
I think looking back, it was pretty close to the end of October when I did my sprinkler blowout, and I imagine it'll be similar this year. So, I looked here recently, our forecast the next couple of weeks is, as accurate as that may be. And it looks like, next week we're going to be getting down highs in the 60s, lows into the high 30s. But then we're back up into the 70s again the following week. So I'm hoping for a good bit of weather left before we get that hard frost. I think it had to be cold for a minute before it really gets down there. But I imagine, end of October as well is around what I'm planning for. By then the grass is kind of slowed down and it's not really hot enough to need it per se. So any rain we get should be fine. But for now, I'm still kind of watering. We got some good weather going. I'm trying to keep this grass growing. So I got it running every other day in the front, still daily in the back. I don't think I need to go daily in the front, but we'll see. I just don't want it to be too wet and just not dry out that much. Anyway, I don't want to overdo it.
One thing is you can always get it blown out and get it set for winter, and then you could always bust out sprinklers with the hose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's something to keep in mind, because to your point, it's not going to be 95 degrees. You're not going to get that, it's not going to have the need as much as anything else. So if it's maybe it hasn't rained in 2 weeks and you want to just get some water down, or maybe you're going to fertilize maybe your last application, and you want to water it in, you can always do that. You can always get out the sprinklers and run them. But I know, for me, there's enough dew in the morning that the grass is wet as can be in the morning.
Yeah, and even if you do blow out sprinklers, it's not hard to, it takes 2 minutes to turn the water back on and run them again if the temperature is not cooperating.
True.
And as long as you own a compressor, it takes me less than 30 minutes to blow out the 8 zones that I have. So, if it jumped up to the 80s again, it's 80s in November for some reason, which would be weird, but if it was, then, I might keep watering.
Yeah.
So speaking of fertilizer, moving on, to something else you touched on, Nate, I imagine I'm going to lean towards a granular here with my last application, just so that it's kind of put down, and most likely it'll be more of a slower uptake just because everything's slowed down anyway. What, are we talking, should we be doing should we do slow release? Should we do something more of a quick release? That way it gets taken up and gets to working faster. What's the point of a slow release if things are already going slow? We look at high nitrogen, high potassium. What will be a good something to do in the fall?
Yeah, I've always read that when your first application, your last application should always be a synthetic, more of a quick uptake, whether that's true or not. But that's kind of the reading that I've done. And then whereas over summertime is where you want your slow releases. I think you just want to get it in, get it absorbed, get it into the system.
Yeah.
But also timing wise, if you have something that's going to maybe be a slow release for 6 weeks, again, look at your timing. How long are you planning on mowing? How long are you planning on pushing, your grass and whatnot? I probably still got at least another month of mowing. So I just put down last night, I put down some Pro Pete, which is a slow release, 11. So I put that down last night. And then I'm probably going to maybe weekly, do a liquid application of ammonia sulfate. And so that's, going to be a quick absorption, quick response. Maybe I might do that for the next few weeks to ride out, because I want to push some nitrogen, push some nutrients into the soil for the rest of the fall. Not doing a fall nitrogen blitz by any means, but it will be heavier than any other time of the year for myself.
Okay. Olee, what about like micros and all that molasses and stuff? You know, if you're like me and Nate and even Brian, maybe a month left in the season and it's going to start getting cooler, things are slowing down. Would any of that stuff be of benefit now, or would it be better to wait until the springtime to put that down as things are waking up versus going to sleep?
Well, the microbes are still jumping, long as the soil is, above 40 degrees. So something like C3 from Earthworks that has kelp, molasses, humic, fish, all that good stuff in there is a good choice. You could spray some straight molasses, but the more I've learned about that, it's better for the molasses to be part of the mixture, not the total thing.
It's better if you have it with something versus alone. It kind of facilitates microbial growth, and you want something there for them to do while they're eating up and have all that energy. That makes sense.
And then if you end the year with a good winterizer, fertilizer, something like, say, 822 or something along that lines that feed the microbes, you keep them active a little longer, and then that stuff is there when the spring pops around and they come back sooner. They're active sooner.
Yeah. So that's a good call. Because the 822's got some of the quick release nitrogen, right? That's what's that it's got some of the quick release nitrogen, which makes it different than the 333 or whatever.
Yeah. Your 822 is partly ammonium sulfate and partly chicken compost.
Okay.
So, you have a little bit of both. You have a, organic and a synthetic mix,
Nice. All right. Sweet. I sprayed some Full-Tech liquid fertilizer, and it's got 18% nitrogen, some potassium and phosphorus, not as much, but I knew it had a good, I think it's about a 50-50 of the quick. It was like some kind of like urea and then the urea triazone, that more slow release, I guess, version or something. And I sprayed that last weekend, I think, or maybe it was the weekend before, but so hopefully that's going to keep kicking in for a while. And then I need to figure out what I'll put down granular wise that'll kind of just sit there, and like Nate was saying, something to kind of be there. As long as things are growing, it's good to have something there.
Yeah. What do you guys, I mean, so if you can see in the back here, I got a lot of trees and they're starting to turn, they're starting to fall. What do you guys deal with leaves at all?
Very little.
Very little. Because you have all pine trees basically?
I have evergreens, the green giant Lathosias, and I have a handful of river birches and then one weeping cherry tree out front. So when I bought this place, there was a ton of trees here. I wish I'd owned a drone when I bought this place because it was 90% woods. And then my first instinct was to take all the trees that would reach the house out. That way, if I was at work in a storm, hurricane, whatever come up, I wasn't worried about stuff landing on my house. Sure. So that was the first go round. Anything that would reach the house was gone. Well, it looked so much better. I sort of, it's about like when you shave your face, you stop.
Yeah.
Look like a goober, but you keep on going. And the next thing you know, I found out I had neighbors and streets, and the whole place was cleared out except for the river birches and the weeping cherry. And then once all that was done, I added, 90 some green giant Lathosias as a border. So
you don't have to deal with that.
I don't have to worry about that. And it's nice, honestly. Now, the sad part is I have no shade. So then the power bill is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one giant Bradford pear, and it slowly drops its leaves, over the months. So as I'm out there mowing, that's usually when I'll either mulch or bag, depending on the mood I'm in. If there's a lot on there, the mulching doesn't always get it super great. So I'll bag it up sometimes and then, rake it as I feel like it, if it's too wet to mow and things like that. But it's not too bad. I don't live in an area like your backyard or other places where they're just hammered with leaves. Like Brent's got, a hell heck of a lot more to deal with than any of us probably. So yeah, different ball game for that kind of stuff. Mine's just more of a, all right, I got to get out there and clean this up real quick, so 10, 15 minutes and I'm done usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're new development. So none of the trees are really even big enough to worry about. Like, I think if all the trees in my front yard, I only have one tree. If all the leaves fell, it'd probably fit into a Walmart bag or something right now.
So what trees do you have, Brian? What type?
The only one that I have is I think it was like a Canadian cherry, choke cherry or something like that. So it has like a kind of a really reddish brown kind of a leaf. Like one of the streets going this way had to have all those trees. Another road, street going this way had to have a different type of tree. So Drunk Lawn Guy's he's got different ones in his front yard. My neighbor to the back, the one before he moved out and sold the house, he planted probably 7 trees right along his little back fence area. So I've actually had a few of those leaves fall down into the backyard. And of course, as they get bigger and older and stuff, there'll be a lot more leaf cleanup there in that backyard. But yeah, I mean, I don't have to worry about gutters or anything like that. There's no leaves falling in gutters because those trees just aren't big enough right now. So
I like to have some October glories or what's the other one? Autumn blaze maples.
Ooh, yeah. I'd like to get one of those bright red maples because that I can actually see in the fall, and it's one of those ones that kind of pop more so than just plain old green for me. Yeah. So eventually,
it's nice right now in the mountains. We see all the trees changing colors.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
So it started up top and it started to move closer down to the valley.
Y'all have some beautiful views out that way. God,
oh man. Mm-hmm.
Between you and Drunk Lawn Guy posting, y'all have some amazing. Y'all both need a drone out there.
I know. Trust me, but it's hard to convince the wife to get the drone. She doesn't see.
Hey, it's easier to ask for permission.
Oh,
yeah. No. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, true that.
I'm always apologizing.
We're actually going up into the mountains this weekend to take family pictures, just because the leaves and stuff are changing, and get out there and get some fall colors and stuff going on. So yeah, now's the time. We actually had snow. I don't think I said anything or put anything on, but we actually had snow up on the top of the mountains.
Oh, wow.
Goodness, like 3 weeks ago, maybe. It's all melted, of course, but it was crazy to see snow already up on the top of the mountains. That's when you know your season's coming to an end. So
for me, it's when it starts getting brisk in the morning, when you come out and you're like, okay, it's cool now. And it seemed to happen quick for us. I don't know. It felt more gradual maybe last year. That's just how I'm remembering it. But yeah, you could definitely tell it's cooling off at night. So the days are getting numbered here for us, and then it's easier to put the kids to bed now because it's actually dark at bedtime. Finally, it's always a pain in the ass in the summertime with these guys.
Mm-hmm. It sucks it's been getting dark at like 7:20. Man, it sucks.
I know it's quick. It's getting early. It's like, man.
Yeah, like if you get stuck at work for like an extra half hour to an hour, you're like, crap, now I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the mowing in time.
Right. Gone to the nights where I can just kind of hang out outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how it was last night. Last night I'd planned, like, all right, I'm going to get home, I'm going to mow, and then I'm going to put my fertilizer down. And I'm like, I hope I can get it all done by dark. And I got stuck at work like an extra half hour or so. And I'm like, oh God, like it's going to be tight. So I was like, hurry home and like just came in, changed real quick and went right out and started mowing, but got it done.
Saturday morning, I was like, I'm going to wait a little bit till it warms up, before I get out. And usually it's crack of dawn, but now it's like, maybe 9 o'clock I'll get out there. It's like 50 something degrees. Yeah. So it felt nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely winding down quick. So something I was going to say with my not aeration, my dethatching is, I I like to just take the mower down, maybe another notch or so and run it. I noticed my front yard is getting a lot of yellow in it and stuff when I cut it down. So that's when I kind of know it's time to dethatch, get all that junk out of there. So I'm going to mow again on Saturday, but take it down a notch, run it, and then get the dethatcher through it all, and then raise it back up, and then just circle around and clean up all the debris and stuff that it left behind. I find that's the easiest. My neighbor, he uses a battery-powered mower, not anybody that we've ever talked to or affiliated with or anything like that, but he's like, yeah, I might have to get the leaf blower out because that battery-powered mower doesn't suck up enough to get all the defects. Yeah. So, that's one of the things as well.
Yeah, right now I have my mower. I've been using my super cycler just because it's a little bit lighter than the Time Master, and I want to be a little bit more gentle. And it's an excuse to be out there a little bit longer. But I have it on the third lowest setting, which I think is maybe right around 3 inches. I don't think it's below 3, but anyway, the youngest grass that I have is not quite there yet, but the rest of the lawn is growing good. So I've been able to keep up with it so far. But now that I hit with some fertilizer, I'm hoping that we'll get some good growth in these next couple of weeks. But if I can keep the pace up between football practice and on my weekends and rain and whatnot, I'd like to try to get at least weekly, if not sneak in a second mow during the week on those nights that there's no football practice. Because I think with the fertilizer, I'm hoping that it'll keep growing and I'll need to cut it that much. I wanted to get it more bushy and see if I can kind of push some of that growth by maybe, keep hitting it frequently. Anyway, just to see if that helps.
Yeah, I actually dropped my height of cut lower than I ever have before. So yeah, and I'm consistently mowing like that, and I like it, but it's I got to keep up on it. So
sure,
now it's like because and it kind of grows in different so it's like you look at one side and you're like it's not too bad, and another spot you're like I got to mow. So
that's the thing is
I'm mowing about 3 times a week right now.
What'd you drop it to?
I didn't measure it, but whatever I run D on the front wheels of the Time Master and E on the back, which before even doing double D was ooh, this is lower than I ever want to go.
Double who?
D's. So now I'm pitched with the.
So what do you think made it? What's different this year that where you're able? Is it just because you're able to sneak in that third mow each week, or
no?
You trained it to look good at this height, and you're sticking with it?
Yeah, I think it's just coming out of the overseed. That's kind of where I wanted to. And I had messed around with it. I probably kept it overall an average. I kept it lower this year than I ever have before. Even in the summer, we didn't have a crazy hot summer. We didn't have a crazy dry summer. I mean, now in the last 2 months, we haven't had crap for rain. But just with sprinklers and kind of just doing what I've normally done, a lot of times in the summer I'd raise it up, but never. The highest I ever went was C. And a lot of times in the summer, I'd go up to B. So, how often were you running the irrigating sprinklers when you were watering after you dug your trenches and stuff? Were you doing it? Was it 3 or 4 times a day for just a 0.1 or 0.15 you were doing, something like that? So no, because when I did mine, I cut my sod off. Okay, so you didn't need to be as gentle. And so I wasn't overseeding. So I put the sod back on, and really I was just running it whatever I needed to. It wasn't. Okay. Yeah. And it took back the most I ever ran it was when I did my overseeding here this fall, when I kind of did some dirt work and some overseeding. That was the most I ever ran it. So, but now I'm running it probably 2 times a week, maybe 3. Kind of depends on the weather. Like Saturday it got up in the 90s, so I ran it then. But now it's 80s, low 80s right now. It's supposed to cool off to the middle of the week, so I'm gonna run it tomorrow morning. And then I think I have it set to go off Saturday morning. So, like I said, every 3 days, basically. Yeah. Right now. I have some sections that are growing like gangbusters and others are going a little slower. So it is one of those things where I feel like I want to continue watering, but I don't want to overdo it
but we still get hot enough to like, man, I want to make sure the younglings are still, still got what they need to not dry out.
Yeah. My biggest thing is like, we're just not getting rain. So I think
we've turned dry.
And I think a lot of people kind of mistake like, oh, it's cooler, so you don't need to water because it's, it's not 95 anymore. It's 70s, 80s, but we haven't had any rain. So it still needs the water.
Right. You still need something if you want growth.
Yeah. So it's like just not push. I mean, you look around, what's crazy is, normally this time of year, everyone's just green as can be. This is the best season. Like right now is usually when it's peak performance. But you look around and a lot of people's lawns are dormant right now. Or not dormant, but not like a July dormant.
Not
but they're not peak at all. They're pretty light in color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we need that. We need a couple days of rain, a steady rain, not floods. But yeah, so it's just kind of odd that a lot of people I think have not realized that.
They put in an auto zone close to where I live, and I always drive by it, coming home and going to work and everything. And when they build those places, they put their little patch of sod wherever the property line is, and then closer to the street, they just laid straw and seed down and whatever. And so they got this beautiful, nice sod, and then they got this shitty, crappy, like in between stuff. So the areas that get the sprinklers and get the water and are taken care of, they're doing pretty well. But similar to you guys, if you haven't been doing that, it's looking pretty bad. There's a house in our neighborhood where the previous owners, it has irrigation. Previous owners ran it, and they were looking better than me the whole time I was there so far. And now they sold, moved away, and the new owners don't care at all. I've never seen their sprinklers running, and the whole line's just died. It's just toast. So I don't know. It's pretty wild how quickly things can turn if you baby your grass, you're giving it what it needs, and then you just take all that away. I feel like it's less resilient maybe than some of those side of the road grasses, but they never look as good as that side of the road grass versus sod or nice manicured grass with the water. So definitely, if you wanted to keep growing and it's still warm out, keep using your sprinklers at least weekly. Hey-o.
Yeah, we got a Hawaiian in here, man.
He must have just gotten off work.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
I think this is his he's usually around work at this time, right? He's earlier in the day by 5 or 6 hours, something like that, right?
Yeah.
I know West Coast is 3 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, I think he's 3 hours behind me, and so it's like 5:30 over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'd be getting off work.
I wonder if the sun's going down for him yet.
Yeah. I think the sun's either always coming up or going down in Hawaii. Like you always just get those beautiful sunsets.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So what else could we do in the fall, you guys? I know. So we talked about like leaf cleanup and stuff, but.
Well, here's the question. I don't know if we talked about the leaves, but are you guys like bagging them up, or we always kind of talk about this debate is, are you bagging the leaves up, or are you going to mulch them and put them into your soil? What do you guys typically do?
I try to mulch mine as much as I can until it comes to the point where like there's just too much, or like even when you're mulching it just kind of looks crappy.
Yeah.
It really has, there's too much to really get down into the soil, or you got to go over it multiple times to like break them down even smaller.
Yeah, that's my big thing is for now, mulching I think is okay, because if I leave some chunks on the grass, it's fine. I'll cut it again in a couple of days. But towards the end, when I know it's my last 1 or 2 mows and I'm not really cutting much grass, but I'm just leaving chunks of leaves, I'll use the bagger, because I think a cleaner look is fine. I don't think it'll do any harm to the grass over winter, but it'll leave a cleaner look, while it sits there over winter time for me, and I don't get all angry every time I come home from work looking at the mess in my yard.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say is I'm pretty pissed off at my dad for not telling me how easy it was to clean up leaves with a mower. He always made me use a rake and a 55-gallon bag thing to always clean up. It's like, dude, seriously? Yeah. I mean, I could have been using a mower this whole time and just pass through and clean them up. What the heck? Maybe
he was testing you. He was like waiting for you to figure it out on your own, and you just never did.
Yeah, right. Now when he hands you a rake and tells you to clean up the leaves.
Well, you were eating at his table, so he
That's true.
It's helping you burn them calories.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting calluses on those hands, you know.
I know that here lately I've been bagging, and man, God, that's a freaking wicked stuff. But I had to spray a PGR. And I finally had to spray a PGR. I couldn't keep up, and I had some stuff that got up to like 16 inches tall.
Ooh, God dang, man!
It was insane. It was a jungle, and we were gone for about 8 days to Disney, so that didn't help. So when we got home, I tried to bag. That was a joke. So I pulled the bagger off, and I just discharged. I mean, discharged like crazy. Let it lay out there for a day or two and dry.
Was that the video when you were doing your flap or whatever, and you were like,
I had to take the flap and all off. I just let it go.
Yeah, just let it chucking it out there.
Chunk it. I mean, basically, I'm talking about it was insane. So now it's cut down to 2.5 inches. And I finally got to do what they call the charity mow, or what do they call it? What do they call it? Basically, when you mow and you barely trim, you know, like you just.
Oh yeah, just
it might be called a charity mow. I don't know, but I finally got to do that before I started plugging with the stinger, and it's pretty crazy at 2.5.
Man, you got me pumped. I saw those little shots you had of underneath the carriage, seeing them TIG things and the seed coming down, because that's the aerator I wanted to rent this year, but it was out of commission. So I'm really hoping to be able to get that next year, because just having it drop the seed, I was like, oh, that's what I need, man. Just put that seed down in there and poke those plugs, and then I could just cruise around the yard. That thing looks way more, because it's like a Z-turn, you're just on the back. You're not on some little thing riding behind it like a chariot, So yeah, I'm really hopeful I can get that thing next fall.
Yeah,
I'll be looking into it in like June. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to reserve this thing for October 1st, 4 months out or something.
I helped my father-in-law seed. I helped my neighbor seed. And then now I'm finally getting mine. But mine's the 36. It's entirely too big for small yards. The 30-inch is a whole lot better but now over here, I'm just out in the open. So the 36 is not a problem. So. But it's pretty dang cool with the seed box.
Do you have it where when you're doing it, are you going one way and then coming back again another way? Like you're doing a half rate, so you're making sure to hit it both directions? Yeah. And in some places, honestly, I've used way less seed than I had planned on, because I don't know the calibration yet. This first year using it. And I've used like I had about 16 or so bags. I think I've used about 10 bags, and I think I'm going to call it quits. And just, because some of it's super thick and some's fine. Now, I've lost some of it out towards the road where it's really compacted. Mm-hmm. And then I've done the core plugging out there, and I'm going to put down, Earthworks has a product called Ecolite. That's some kind of, I don't really know what to even say what it is, some type of material to help hold moisture and help you get through those localized dry spots that I struggle with. Instead of doing like a Band-Aid and trying to take care of these localized dry spots that I lose every year, I've core plugged them, and I'm putting down that Ecolite in those holes to try to help me, keep moisture there. Like down beside my driveway for about a foot, I've lost some turf because the concrete gets so hot. So I've core plugged that real well. Is it like a hydrotane type thing or something, or is it different? No, I don't really know what. It's something that they mine, and it's like a white powder. I don't know how else to describe it. Something or other, and it just attracts the water or holds onto it there locally better or something. Yeah, it's called Ecolite. I've used the other stuff like that, and it's basically a Band-Aid. Yeah. And the other problem is, like, I've watered really heavy down the edge of my driveway at wrong hours of the day to keep it from stressing so bad. Well, then you end up with gray leaf spot. Yeah. Okay. Because you're watering at the wrong time. But, I mean, it's the only time I got to water. So I'm trying to do something with the soil. Anytime you have construction, you end up with a lot of compaction. So for anybody building a new house, the first thing they need to think about before they do any seeding or anything is break all the compaction from all the trucks
and all the traffic of construction, building a new home. And, normally you have a lot of construction because they take away all your topsoil.
Right.
They come in there and they grade it off. They sell the topsoil for extra money, and they leave you with the piss poor dirt. They throw down a contractor's mix and they leave. So, like out at the street, that's where my worst problems is, on my ditch, where they come in, they built the ditch and they drove motor graders and all that stuff that was heavy, probably have a bunch of gravel mixed in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I struggle. So out there, I've core plugged the piss out of it multiple times and going to do that Ecolite. And I don't really know what to tell you what it is, but it's just something that helps hold moisture. It helps hold, stuff of that nature. Let's see here, Ecolite. Just trying to keep from doing a Band-Aid,
Sure.
I want it resolved to where it's all equal.
To something that'll kind of remain in the soil there, almost like a soil amendment, like you're putting lime or something down, but it's more geared towards water retention or something. That's kind of cool.
It just says it's a soil amendment that it's a zeolite material with the highest CECs of all physical soil amendments. It holds and retains potassium, ammonium, retains water, stuff of that. It's ideal for amending soil at aerification.
I mean, what is it? I mean, how much is like a 40-pound bag? I mean, is it pricey stuff? Ecolite?
No, it comes in a 50-pound bag. Let's see if I can help you find a price.
Ecolite soil amendment.
But I've tried so much stuff as far as like Band-Aids, like wetting agents, stuff of that nature, and hopefully this will help fix it. But it's mainly like left and right of the drive where you have a lot of compaction from construction and in the ditches.
Is it a commercial product, or are you able to get it as like a homeowner?
It's a pro product, but you can buy it from anybody that's a distributor.
Oh, okay. Not straight from Earthworks, I guess. Okay. All right. I'll have to check that out. That seems interesting because, I mean, I like to look for something that would help my backyard remain kind of a low maintenance, but I do want to have my sprinklers set up back there because it'll be needed in the summertime if I want to stay green or have it somewhere where the kids can play catch with the football, kick a soccer ball, and actually enjoy the backyard grass, not it be a dirt pit or rock hard for anything to play on. So something to help the soil kind of, if I'm aerating next year again, put something down in there and take advantage of that time. Because I didn't do any of that this year. That's one of the things looking back now, some extra steps I could have done to take advantage of the aeration, putting down some gypsum, putting down something like an Ecolite product, or even the 333 with mycorrhiza was something I was, oh man, that would have been something good to put down now. So
that's good.
Trying to think about what to plan ahead for, come next year when I get that stinger finally.
Let's see right here. Ecolite takes. He basically put the definition or whatever in there.
Where to buy?
Yeah, but like I have places that I lose turf every year.
Sure.
Just because you can't put enough water on it, and then if you're not careful, if it's stressed out, like this year was one of the worst. Like we got super stressed because of drought and heat. And then we turn around and got a foot of rain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like setting you up for perfect, gray leaf spot pressure.
I wonder if I got some fungus going on, because there's some areas that kind of look shitty, but they've been getting watered and maybe they're the more shaded areas, but yeah, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wonder too if grubs may have been an issue. I found a couple in some of the spots that I was repairing last weekend, and I didn't dig or do any further investigation, but I found a couple fat little suckers. I was like, well, I don't know, because anyway, just trying to rack my brain of possibilities or what could have contributed to some of the areas that did better and some that didn't.
What do you do for grub prevention? Like,
this year I didn't do anything because I was like, well, it wasn't really a problem last year other than one side of my lawn. And I think I, took care of that at the time because it didn't come back. But then the backyard, some areas just, they were doing great or there's some baby seed, but then everything else around it's not doing very good, or it's kind of stringy and just doesn't look healthy, or just never really filled in better. It just kind of, the grass that was there kind of grew tall and stringy, but wasn't like getting thick, even with the fertilizer I put down and the water I'm giving it and the sun from September, October weather. I'm like, man, this is not at all looking anything close to what I expected. And maybe some of the soil's still kind of crappy. I could have done a better job of aerating, especially close to the house, and some of those tighter spots I just couldn't get very well with the machine I was using. But even in the middle of the yard too, there's areas I hit with Roundup, and I feel like I probably didn't do a good enough job prepping the soil. But other spots, grass popped up, and I did those two spots the same. The whole yard, I didn't do any different. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think what could it be, and I'm thinking maybe there were some differences in soil conditions that probably contributed to it. Maybe some areas are more compacted, or I didn't hit it with the aerator as well. So it just, the water that I was getting there just never got very deep, or who knows. I'm trying to figure out for next time what can I do better. Each
year is a different learning curve.
Absolutely, yeah.
And each year is a different battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's either too much rain, not enough rain, army worms, grubs. It's each year is a different, and it's never repetitive. I mean, honestly, things are changing. Like the weather is not like it used to be. I mean, it's changing. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, we get crazy hot, less rain. Season stretches further into the wintertime or later into the year for us, and it starts earlier too, which is nice for mowing and getting outside. But I do feel like we get less rain, but when we do, it just absolutely hammers us. So
so it kind of adds to the, I don't know, intrigueness, the fun of doing lawn care is that
it's not easy.
The same thing over and over every year. I think I'd get bored with it after the third year, kind of a thing.
Sure.
It tests your ability to be a greenskeeper. So sort of just watching, and like right now, I figured we'd be getting way more rain, and from the storm, we were extremely fortunate. We only got 2 inches of rain, some limbs down, stuff like that. But like today, I was out, finishing my overseed, my core plugging, and man, I got some dry spots right now. Like, I mean, it's dry. So as soon as I can get down my Earthworks 333, I'm going to start, throwing the water to it. But I'm going to wait till I get all my starter down. And it won't be like 15 minutes of zone. I'm probably going to crank it, let it roll an hour or so of zone, because, I mean, we're dry.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe. The other thing you think about is, we're cooling off, but we have a really good breeze. And anytime you got wind or a good breeze, it dries everything out. It's about like having a clothesline. You got your blue jeans out there on a clothesline. The next thing you know, they stiff as a board. Everything else is drying out too.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that before, but it makes sense, especially if you have, you have established grass where, the blades are close together, they can kind of retain, the wind doesn't have as much of an impact. But if you have more open areas with young little grass blades, and they could probably dry out easier with that wind. And we've been windy a lot more here recently too. That's something else, is just the wind is just.
Well, the other thing is, anytime that you core plug or aerate, you open the soil up, you put a lot of oxygen into the soil, you dry out the root zone.
Sure.
So, you're sort of, if you can't get water behind it, you're better off to leave it alone. So you think about it, you go plug all them holes in the soil, and you just opened up all them series of holes
the evaporation and everything else. Yeah.
You just let all your moisture disappear.
It's a damn good thing. I'm always doing it right before overseeding and hitting it 4 times a day with too much water.
Yep.
I'm thinking next year, one of the things I'm gonna talk about this in the video I'm working on, but I'd love to do that Stinger aerator and get the seed hopper and use that with, maybe aerate and then come back again and then do the seeding or whatever. I want to use that thing, but I want to get one of those eco lawn things too. I'd still like to get some more topsoil, it wasn't that bad shoveling 6 yards this year. If I could, fill that thing up and have it just kind of chuck it out for me and not really damage the lawn, but just kind of throw it out there. I'd love to be able to do that and then hit it with some seed and just not just demolish the lawn for a season. Finally some season where I'm not just wrecking my lawn. I can just kind of do like what you're doing. It's already looking good. We're in good shape. Just give it some healthy soil amendments, throw some topsoil on there, aerate, get all that stuff in there, throw some seed down and hit it with the sprinklers. And, that's kind of what envisioning. That's what I would like to do, or hopefully set myself up to be ready for that next year, finally, to where I'm not just doing this giant project and it's waiting weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'd like to get back out there and keep mowing when the weather's nice.
I sold my eco lawn whenever I found out about Earthworks and how easy it is to spread it with just a normal push spreader.
Yeah.
I got rid of the eco lawn. That thing was nothing but a headache. Like, you think about it, you have to buy topsoil or compost. You hope that it's clean and it's not full of weed seeds.
Sure.
Then you buy it, you have to load it, you have to spread it. And honestly, you're better off to do something like the 333 or something of that nature, or 343, and just feed the soil. And then you don't mess up like your level or your, your surface. And, but anyway, like if you got a good compost that's clean, it's been composted to 160, that's not full of weed seeds, you're going to spend a bunch of money just to put down 1/8 or 1/4 inch of compost.
And that's true. It's not that the Ecolon thing is like, I think it was like $260 per day to rent. The Stinger is like $350, but I want to rent that thing. I just want to ride it, if anything. But so it's like, I gotta run all this by the wife before I commit to anything. So, if it ends up being one or the other, I feel like the aerator would be way more important than getting another round of dirt and the Ecolon to throw it out. But
the nice thing about the Stinger is you can adjust, how deep you're going into the soil.
Sure.
If you're just looking to, get the soil roughed up to have soil to seed, you can run 200 PSI on a Stinger and just barely, penetrate and rough it up. If you're looking to relieve compaction, you can run up to 600 or so PSI and pull a 3 or 4 inch core, So it's got some really good adjustability.
Nice.
And then it's nice just to drop seed and, like it's one pass.
Yeah.
In the past, I would be making a pass and then come back with something spreading the seed. Or if I use my first product's Aerator, it drops the seed and does that. And it's a phenomenal piece of equipment, but it works best in super dry concrete style conditions. We've had some moisture, so core plugging is a little better this year. And so it depends on how your year goes,
Sure. Yeah, I definitely want to get some deep plugs in the backyard because I feel like there's a lot of compaction and just neglect back there. But the front yard, if it does good in the spring and comes back to life over these next few weeks and really gets looking good, then yeah, it might just be some light plugging and some seeding. When you do yours, you go over it, you don't go back over your lawn to kind of make sure the seed falls into the grass. You just Stinger aerator, drops it down and you're done. There's nothing more to it than that for you.
What I've been doing is I've been coming home from work a little early because I know things are dry. Because like Nate was saying earlier, how heavy the dew has been here lately. I go to work for a couple hours. I wait till the turf is super dry. Like if I walk in it, my shoes, the toes of my shoes are getting wet, I don't do anything. Because to me, the grass seed's going to stick to that wet grass.
Yeah.
So I wait until later in the afternoon to where the turf is dry, and that way the seed will fall down, into the dirt. And then I am doing a crisscross pattern. So I'm running like a half rate. I'm doing an east to west, and I'm, south to north, north to south, whatever. And then that way I get a basket weave, get plenty of what's going on. And like I say, I had bought several bags of Artemis, and I have not put out near what I thought I would, but I've hit the thin spots twice. And actually 3 times. I've hit everything twice, and in the thin spots 3 times. So I'm just going to quit where I'm at, and I'm going to have seed for next year. Or if somebody local, needs some help, I've got some seed to help them out. Because most of it's kick and tail. Like I say, I had to spray a plant growth regulator because I could.
That's crazy, man.
I could not keep up. I finally I had to spray it with the Pro Hex and chill it out.
All right. Well, let's touch base again in 2 weeks and see how everybody's doing. Hopefully I'll have some good news for you guys on my lawn. Well, I'm excited to see how yours progresses too.
Well, and I'm excited to hear about Equip Expo in a couple of weeks when you get back. So we'll be back in 2 weeks and get to hear all the fun stuff. So we'll see you guys then.